You may have realized that being healthy feels different than it did in the past now that you're over 50. If you want to maximize your health potential but don't have time to read through overwhelming pages of Google links, this is the show for you. Welcome to Healthy Tips After 50. We love doing the research, finding solutions, talking to health experts, and learning what works and what doesn't. Now, your host. She spent the last 25 years dedicated to feeling her best and is here to share her best findings with you, Susan Rosen.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen. And today's podcast, kind of a shorter one, but it's about listening. Not only listening with your ears, it's about listening with your mind, with your heart, and most importantly, with your attention. Listening can be an important part of having a relationship and or just a conversation with another person. If you're trying to pay close attention to someone else, then there are a few things that you can try and remember to do, because it really will make a big difference to both the person you're listening to and to yourself. First off, you need to relax and stop your own mind from thinking about what you're doing or where you are or who it is you're talking to. Just concentrate on them. Then don't think about what you have to do or where you have to be in 15 minutes. Don't think about what you're going to say in response to a comment, a statement, a story, something they're talking about. Just listen. Don't interrupt to disagree. Don't interrupt with your own story. Do listen intently. We can all tell when someone is actually doing that. Do try to get their world or understand what they're trying to say, what they're trying to tell you about. Do stay calm and supportive in your demeanor and keep the focus on them. If you're on the phone, let them know you're listening by making a kind of supportive sounds, like an or an aha or oh. Don't interrupt. Just kind of keep it in the background so they know that you are still there and you are still listening. If this is in person, you can move your head up and down or to the side to show you're hearing what they're saying. Kind of like a yes, I understand. Doesn't mean you have to agree. Just yes, I hear you. If you have a question or a comment or want to share a similar experience you've had, wait for a pause and then ask them if it's okay to share it with them. Don't just go off with your own story and take all of the attention off of them. Do reflect back to them some of their own words and thoughts to show that you are indeed listening to what they're talking about. Spending time, especially in person, just listening can be one of the most transformational experiences that any of us can have. I once did a talk to a group of professionals. They were of all different ages and men and women. And the meeting actually was on Zoom. We put groups of 2 people each into separate breakout rooms for an exercise on listening. And the exercise I asked them to do was to have one person talk and one person silently listen for 5 minutes. Then they switched roles and did it again, but just opposite, for another 5 minutes. When we brought everybody back into the group, we asked for their comments, how they felt during it. What was it like to be the person talking? What was it like to be the person listening? Everyone was totally blown away. They had never been listened to like that before. And the connection they felt because of it was really amazing as well. I'm telling you this as an illustration of the impact that listening with nothing on your mind can help you in dealing with other people. Those other people could be family members. They could be people you work with. But it really applies to all of your relationships with other people. And it's not just that the other people will feel more heard. You will also find for yourself and them that there is a stronger connection between you as well. I also want to talk about listening to yourself and listening to how you talk to yourself. Many times the person we're hardest on is ourselves. We point out what we've done wrong or what we should have said or not said, and we go through all of this over and over and over again in our minds. I'm not even sure you want to call it talking to ourselves, because we just keep reiterating the same points over and over and over. And as I know I've said before on this podcast, you can't really change what's already been done in the past. The past is in the past, and we are all living in the present moment. You can look at the past and you can learn lessons from it, maybe new ways to do something or say something, but you can't change it and you can't regret it. We can see how our listening can be better with ourselves as well as with other people. You can also take a breath or wait 5 to 10 seconds before you say something or do something that can be negative or hurtful in your conversations with other people or your conversations with yourself. It's not that difficult. It just takes the same kind of attention that we have just been talking about. And it's the same kind of conversation, whether it's with others or ourselves. And it is really amazing because when you wait those few seconds, people will realize that you are getting ready to really listen to them. And that works for when you're talking to yourself as well. Listening to ourselves and others is a habit. Improving our listening is not difficult. It takes some intention and some attention in the present moment, that moment that we actually have some control over. If we pay attention, then we can improve our relationships and we can make others feel heard, and maybe they will return the favor by listening better to us as well. And as one of my mentors likes to say, you can never overestimate how impactful it can be for people to have someone actually listen to them without anything else on their mind. Try it and you'll be amazed at how good it feels. So that's this week's podcast. I will be back next week. I have an interview that I recorded with Dr. Dave Shirazi, and I will be posting that next week. As far as this week goes, I am not a doctor. This podcast is not to be seen as medical advice. And I think that's about it for this week. Talk to you next week.
This has been Healthy Tips After 50 with Susan Rosen. To stay on the cutting edge of the most effective health strategies, subscribe to this podcast and let us know what you thought of the show with a comment or like on iTunes. Visit healthytipsafter50.com for this episode's show notes, more resources, and free offers.